YouTube, the biggest ban list in Master Duel history, might have just dropped today. Basically midnight, August 21st, so this is technically Monday in EST. It will be implemented for Season 21 on August 31st. The ban list is also in game, but of course we're going to use Master Duel meta because they got some nice visuals, so props to DK and the team. Let's get straight into it. Alright, I'll try to do it without spoiling, but it is what it is. We got Nadir Servant going from 2 to 3, an ultra rare, but this is good, you know, this is a good card. I don't think it really needs to be limited. It gives you more access for your Dogmatica plays, but also some additional branded applications as well. This card was also being used in the branded synchro strategy, which, you know, isn't relevant right now, but will be. Will we see this card return to being semi-limited? I don't know. This card, for those of you who are Florandrees players, there was a list from a YCS where a guy splashed in 3 Nadir Servant, 1 Ecclesia, and 3 Dogmatica Punishments, and he actually like top 16 or top 32 or something with the list. So this card can work in Florandrees as well. Anything that doesn't use the extra deck, this can be used to a certain extent, right? Even like Labyrinth maybe, but you know, you gotta really be reaching to try to use a card like that. Ancient Fairy Dragon, this card's not doing anything. However, once all of the archetype specific field spells ends up hitting the game, so like the Kashtira field spell, Vanadium field spell, etc., this card will have more applications because you basically use them as archetype rotas. Will it be relevant for more than one? Probably not though, so it can go to 3. It doesn't really impact anything, I don't think. Let's move on. Girsu Orcust. Orcust isn't doing anything in ranked mode, let's be honest here. Let me know, Orcust players, are you hitting master rank with this deck? I don't see it happening. But let me know. So not relevant, can go back to 3, just like many other cards that are currently still on the ban list, but hey, it is what it is. Semi-limited, Blaster, level 7, Dragon Ruler, you know, relevant a long time ago. Is it really relevant right now? No, these aren't even the best ones. I think it's the water and the earth ones are better, but you know, the card's not doing anything. Yeah, why ban an ultra rare? Just let people craft it, you know, try something, try to cook with it. Oh my god, Pot of Extravagance. Yep, so this is an indirect hit to Florandrees, but also to Labyrinth and stun decks and stuff like that. You can see that these decks that don't use their extra deck are gaining in popularity a little bit, so they're trying to nerf some of that. Pot of Extravagance, basically just Pot of Greed for those decks, so semi-limit, we can live with it, but again, it's another hit to Florandrees and those other decks that kind of just focus mainly on their main deck, unfortunately. Luster Pendulum. Sure, you want to sell your new Pendulum cards, make this card a little bit more relevant. That 3 in the TCG, 1 in the OCG. You know, you run into the odd Pendulum deck in the ladder once in a while, and it either cooks you or just doesn't do anything because it bricks or it can't extend. So it is what it is. Give the Pendulum players some hope, sure. This is crazy to me. In my entire Master run, all of Master rank 5 to 1. Didn't run into a single branded player. The deck isn't good. I hate to break it to you guys. It can be good in the right hands, but in general, you have to have such advanced knowledge of like interactions and how to use the deck properly, especially like in specific matchups. It's not really that top tier. The deck will get better with the other support coming, and the problem with this card, like yes, it hits the archetype brand, like the branded archetype, but the card, like, for what it does, especially with the Bestials now in the game and other cards coming to the game, just the fact that you dump from your deck is just too powerful. That's why it needs to be limited. It's not that the branded deck is too powerful, which is, you know, what I was saying at the beginning. It's what this card does in dumping the materials from the deck is absolutely broken. So that's why it has to get limited. And honestly though, if you pay attention to like TCG and stuff, where branded fusion is still at 3 obviously here, the branded synchro strategy, I think personally, is better than just like the branded fusion strategy. Like you still use the fusion cards, but like a focus more on the synchro, not more, but like implementing the synchro plays with branded actually makes the deck stronger in my opinion. But yeah, interesting. Grass to 1, this card should be banned. Banned in TCG, 2 in OCG. Yeah, this card shouldn't exist. Nobody likes playing against those 60 pile decks. Nobody wants to sit there for 10 minutes, watch the opponent play through hand traps when they draw the one of, like when people resolve grass, like usually people just scoop because it's like, I'm not going to sit there watch you activate 10 chain links and then I have 5 cards in my hand. If I have 2 interruptions, I can't even stop you. The only thing that counters grass is like they activate grass, you activate shifter, and if they don't have called by, it's likely GG's for you, like against them, like they lose. But if you don't have Shifter and they resolve Grass, it's 99% of the time you're going to lose. Actually, probably 100% of the time you're going to lose. So yeah, this card should be banned. But I mean, at 1, it gives, I guess, some cope to the Grass players that they'll continue to play 60 card decks, hoping to draw the 1 of. But this card will definitely need to get banned by the time Thrust comes to the game. Kel back to 1 should have been at 1 in the first iteration, but sure. Actually, these cards should have never been printed, and this card should be banned, but sure, it's an ultra rare. Go to 1, better than being at 2 for sure. This card is busted. So good. We all know what this is for, right? It's a hit to Tearlaments, it's a hit to the Grass decks, it's a hit to Earth Mill. With Super Heavy Samurai coming too, like, I think there was an OCG Vernisylph Super Heavy Samurai Block Dragon, like ridiculous combo deck. So yeah, it needed to get limited, so I'm glad that they did that at least. Okay, Jet to 1. Relevant, but Sprite isn't played as a core deck anymore. It's an engine that you implement or you use with other archetypes. So the for hire Runic Sprite deck is probably the best iteration of Sprite, or using Sprite right now, and it only plays 1 Jet anyways. So this is kind of irrelevant for that. It does hurt like the Melfi Sprite deck, which I did run into quite a lot in the ladder. And as a core engine, Sprite, like limiting the Sprite cards for consistency reason, I guess does hurt it a little bit. But the fact that it's going to force you to play like other level 2s to like supplement the fact that you might not hard draw Jet as much does lower the power level of that deck. However, like I said, that's not where Sprite is at its strongest. Sprite is at its strongest when it's used as like a more supplemental engine. Where in the Sprite Melfi deck, it's technically still a core engine, but you have so many support cards that you can use with it because of Gigantic. Gigantic is your bridge. Same with Sprint, is your bridge to like your Sprite engine, right? Like I've gone over this in my Sprite videos before. This is why Sprite is so strong. You can start with the Swap Frog, you can start with the Beaver, you can start with the actual Sprite cards, you can start with like any level 2 extender to go into Gigantic and get you into your Sprite engine. So whether this is at 2 or 1, it makes a slight consistency hit, but in the end, you're still going to get your Gigantic, you're still going to get your 1 of Jet in rotation. It does make you a little bit more susceptible to interruption, and if these get banished, you're kind of screwed for like in terms of a grind game. But Sprite never really had that much of a grind game to begin with anyways. Elf, yes, but yeah, so if it gets banished, it hurts you a little bit there. So it is slightly significant, but not that significant. This is significant though. I would say this is more significant than this. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. But I remember when this went to 2, and I literally made a comment, and I was like, this is irrelevant. Because most of the time on turn 1, you're only going through 2 Swap Frogs anyways, and if anything, you should only be playing 2. Because you have a third one in your deck now that's kind of a brick, unless you bring it back, unless you're able to bring this back again with Elf to dump the last one, which most cases you're not doing, because with Elf, you'd rather procure your Sprite cards anyways. So this going to 1 does matter. It means you only get 1 rotation off the Ronin dump, and yeah, you're less likely to see it. And also, if you do see it, or less likely that you see this with the Nimble Angler to pitch and instantly get 2 Beavers as well. So this has, I actually think this, yeah, maybe this does have more implication in terms of like combo potential, like the limit of this compared to this. So that's interesting. That's an interesting hit. Wow. Swap Frog to 1. I think Sprite was the most common deck I saw in my Master Rank ladder run, more than Tearlaments even. Oh, here we go. Forbidden. I just lost to this. Somebody in the Dark and Light event, somebody was playing Phantom Knights and they got out a Ranga with 5 materials. I almost still won though. But the special summoning for 2 turns, like no normal or special summoning for 2 turns, the guy barely OTK'd me on like the turn 3. I was playing Runic, so I could have special summoned during his turn and like saved myself, but I couldn't special summon for 2 turns, so I lost. This card needs to go 100%. Like nobody wants to play against this garbage. Yeah, he made it. He didn't have Salesman. He just made it with like the Phantom Knight cards, I guess, like increasing their levels. I wasn't really paying attention because it was again one of those matches where it was like a 7 to 10 minute combo board, and I was just like doing something else, so I really wasn't paying attention. I don't know how he made it. I'll probably go back and check the replay before it disappears, but not worth it. This is ridiculous. This is good. This card should never have been printed, just like Hellback, but this is good. This is pushing Tearlaments into like, you need to rely on your own engine now. which is good. Like Tearlaments on its own is fine. These cards make it broken. These cards like should have never been printed. And the fact that they're still at 1, well now this one's banned now, but like they shouldn't even be in the game. They're so ridiculous. So this is good for the game. And I've played Tearlaments. I have Tearlaments on other accounts. I actually invested in this deck. And seeing this happen like hurts me on those, but it needs to happen because this card is ridiculous. Both of them, the Kelbeck and the Yugioh. Bish Balkan, no more OTKs. Okay, sure. I never ran into this once, but sure. Nobody wants to sit there and watch a 10-minute combo board for Bish Balkan OTK. Oh my god, this is relevant. Finally. Goodbye, annoying Adamantipator. 60 card. Play for 10 minutes. Set up a million Omni Negates. Could only be beaten by Dark Ruler and or Super Poly. Maybe Super Poly. Literally need 2 cards in your hand. Dark Ruler evenly matched to beat what, you know, if you can't interrupt them enough to stop the plays. I'm kind of speechless. I knew it was a big ban list, but they're literally killing Tearlaments. I shouldn't say killing Tearlaments. The reason they're doing this, you should automatically click in. This is like, okay, so the meme or the joke is that the Sprite cards like Elf and Sprint help Tearlaments more than they help Sprite, which is true because of Merly. Merly should have been made a level 1 or like a level 3. Probably a level 1 so that you can't Xyz with Havness and Merly, but this cuts off Elf and it cuts off Sprint from the Tearlament deck now. That's why they had to do this. And now this hit combined with the ishizu cards being further nerfed, almost. Actually, it might, I don't know, I guess we'll see how the meta develops in Season 21. It might push Tearlaments into, this is now an engine you put into another deck, kind of like what Sprite is now. It's not an archetype that you can play by itself. I mean, maybe, but with only 2 fusion names now, yeah, that's kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. I wonder if they had this plan from the beginning. But if you're wondering why this had to happen, it's because of Sprite, Elf, and Sprint in Tearlaments. I mean, I'm not complaining. I think everybody's sick of Tearlaments at this point. There it is, boys. And girls. Overall, for Floanderies, we take 1 slight hit, again, in Extravagance. Not probably meant for us, to be fair. It's probably meant for Labyrinth. And like against stun decks and stuff like that, which are probably more relevant. But this is good. Okay, as a Floanderies player, if you're looking at this, we lose to this. This hurts us, so we're fine seeing this go. Never ran into this. This needed to go for like everybody. So these are all pluses for us. This, you know, Floanderies should like playing against Tearlaments. So this might be an indirect nerf to Floanderies in that, like, you know, we might see less and less Tearlaments. Branded wasn't doing anything. This is good. This is good. Sprite is a harder matchup for Floanderies, so this is technically good for us. But again, the good Sprite decks really only play probably, like, it doesn't hurt them that much. They for a higher one only plays 1 jet anyways. This is good. This slows down Sprite's engine. Irrelevant, hurts us, irrelevant, irrelevant. All 3. Let me know what you think in the comment section below on this ban list.